Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Tricom here we've got going on today. I am Nadasfan on my Sports Gaming Universe channel, and I've got some special friends with me. I've got MrHurriicane,
How's it going, everybody?
and I've got Baef.
What's up, people?
Yeah, so we're having like a baseball roundtable here, and we're focusing mainly on the AL Central and two teams who are struggling, who are near and dear to our hearts, that being the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers, as they face off this weekend here at Target Field. So, yeah, we got some teams that are in some sorry states here.
Definitely. I think many people expected the Twins to be a bad team coming into this year, although the cautiously optimistic people were saying just below 500, and I'm like, no, not quite there. And right now, they have 15 wins and 29 losses, so it's been a very tough season so far. Only can go up from here, being the worst team in baseball, tied with like the Cubs, I believe. And they actually have a weekend series, is it? When do they play the Cubs?
We play the Cubs right at the start of June here, and yes, it is a weekend series. It's probably the only series that has tickets that are in demand here at Target Field this year, at least for the foreseeable future.
All right, Babe, give us a quick breakdown of the Tigers season thus far.
It's been very disappointing, and the biggest reason is they were expected to just blow away this division and easily win. It's been complete disappointment after signing Prince Fielder to such a lucrative contract, and
Been there, done that with our first baseman, or our catcher, actually, my bad.
Both.
Yeah, he plays both, so that's why I was mixed up.
so it's been disappointing. And the big thing too is, last year everybody compares to last year because we have basically the same roster as last year, besides Prince Fielder, obviously. But a lot of our players had career years last year, which now look like the career year for them because you had Johnny Peralta, you had Alex Avila, both having just monster years last season, and this year very, very, very opposite of what they did last year.
So, what do you think? How bad do you think the Tigers miss Victor Martinez? Do you think that was a big injury to have to withstand?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the team batting average when there's men in scoring position, it's got to be one of the worst in all baseball, I would assume. Uh, Victor Martinez led the league in batting average with runners in scoring position. I think he was batting over 400 with men on base, which is amazing. And they're just not getting runs home. If you look at the Cleveland series that they just got swept by Cleveland, they left over 30 men on base in 3 games. You just can't do that and win.
Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
Twins have their fair share of issues when it comes to runners in scoring position. It seems that most of the games where they've actually scored some runs, and when I consider the Twins scoring runs, I'm talking 5 or more. Because I'm not expecting a lot of offense from this type of team. They've always been a small ball, but now they have a little bit of power. When that can get alive, they eventually can get, some of those 6, 7, 8 run games. And it's been guys like Willingham and actually Ryan Domit, who's been a pleasant surprise compared to the rest of the squad this year as far as having a bigger impact on the field.
Yeah, and Willingham's falling off a little bit here. He started so hot, and yeah, Doma has been a very great surprise. And unfortunately, I just didn't see us. I knew we'd have problems with the pitching, but I didn't think we'd be this far into the AAA roster at this point in the season, like we were last year because of injuries. This is just more because of performance,
Oh,
and it's
exactly.
really, really disheartening.
I mean, when you go out and get Jason Marquis, we probably did not expect a ton of him. He was likely going to be the number 2 or 3 guy in the rotation, given his experience and what he's been able to do in the past. And just we don't have the starting pitching. And right now, our 2 best pitchers, were they even in spring training?
I seriously doubt it. I know Diamond might have been because he had a little bit of experience last year here, but no, I mean these are guys that you did not at all expect to be pitching right now, and the guys who were the regulars, your Lirianos. I mean, you can't even get them out there in bullpen roles right now just because he's struggling so badly.
Yeah, at least I think the relief pitching has at least been enough to make the Twins have 15 wins without the relief pitching. I mean, Jeff Gray's had a good year. I like Glenn Perkins. Matt Capps is always a flip of the coin. Not saying he's solid. That's not good, but I think at least this year, getting to watch some of the young talent is at least fun to do. Like, I'll still watch a team even though they lose. I'll stop watching if the team itself is disinterested, but that's never been really Gardenhire Twins baseball, so I don't see that happening. But do you think there's going to be anything to shake this team up come the trade deadline, or anything going to go so we can get some prospects? There's some guys that could be on the block.
Well, I can almost guarantee you something will go. I mean, I don't think you can have 2 years in a row like this, injuries or not, and keep these pieces of the roster intact. Now, whether it has to be a big splash, I don't know, but starting to hear small rumblings about Justin Morneau, as strange as that sounds, to be getting rid of him, but they need any kind of piece they can get in the pitching core. So that's something they're going to have to look at. Maybe Nadasfan as well.
So you'd mainly want some starting pitcher prospects somewhere in the minor leagues that can hopefully be a starter next year or a couple years down the line.
Well, we've been waiting for Kyle Gibson so long, and then he had the Tommy John, and all of a sudden that number one ace option that we were all waiting for kind of got put on hold. So yeah, I mean, starting pitching, but the relievers as well, we need to shore it all up. There are too many spots there, and I think they just need some good young arms, no matter where they're coming from, bullpen or the starting rotation.
All right, Bafe, do you think the Tigers are going to be a team that's going to be active towards the trade deadline? I know they're like 20-24 right now. Do you think they're just going to wait it out and wait for Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder to carry this team and for some other guys to step up, or is there a trade that needs to happen?
I can almost guarantee that they're going to do whatever they can to bring another bat into the lineup. To me, I think the Prince Fielder signing was a mistake. They had too many holes in the lineup as it was when they signed Fielder. I would have rather see that $200 million spread out over 2 players or so. I think there was some quality at bats out there. Like, their second base is basically Ryan Rayburn, who is notoriously streaky at hitting. Typically, the first half of the season, he's terrible, and then he starts hitting in August, which is kind of when you want people to hit, but just looks so deceiving. I can see them trying to make some sort of trade at the trade deadline.
Can you see the Twins and the Tigers making a trade? In division, the Twins are likely not going to be around in August. They'll likely be in the cellar of the AL Central.
Well, there's precedent for it, the Delman Young trade. So
I'm just saying that because it's happened before.
If the Twins are too far out, I don't think that rule of trading within the division applies anymore. I think you get what you can get from whoever it may be.
Yeah, I guess it depends on who's on the trading block, who's available for the Twins that would make a difference.
What's the obviously need, an infielder or an outfielder?
I would say an infielder. They need a second baseman, and they need some help in the bullpen, I believe.
And they definitely need some help on defense, and I saw that enough in that Tigers-Twins series where it was only a 2-game series, but the Tigers just looked so out of it, and defense is what really cost them a lot of runs in that game to a bad Twins lineup. Gave them a lot of extra bases, a lot of extra outs to work with, and I mean, defense can mean a lot in baseball. I mean, the Twins went out and got Jamie Carroll this offseason, and although he's 38 years old, he's playing phenomenal defense, the way you expect Twins defenders to play. Even though he's hitting 220, he's still been a pretty good guy in the lineup because he can still play good defense.
Well, and that's the Twins' way, though. You go and get the guys on the cheap who can play the defense because you can't afford the sluggers and you can't afford the number one arms. So
can't afford or don't feel like trying to afford.
Well, I just heard Bafe say $200 million. You wish you could spread that out better. Well, I wish I'd have the extra $100 million to play with. We won't go above $100 million, even with a brand new ballpark. To me, that's being a little too frugal if you want to actually play some ball and within the division, but that's just always been the mindset, and I think we got to break out of that.
Well, it's worked for the Twins in the past. I mean, you guys never really had a huge payroll, and you've kind of owned the division the last 10 to 12 years, haven't you?
That's true. It's kind of been that way. You kind of see the shift going now. I mean, I think we're going to be rebuilding before we're up on top once again here. It's going to be a few years out. So I don't know. It's just I think they've got to admit to rebuild right now, which I think is starting to happen. And if you have to dismantle some of the major pieces, whether it's a former MVP or not, I think you got to kind of look at what you can do. As much as I like Morneau, they might be able to get something for him in return that could help a lot more down the road.
And for the sake of the future, that might be necessary.
Yeah, definitely. You're tied up with Mauer, whether you want him or not. you've got that contract, and he's the hometown boy. And boy, I'd like to see that average get up closer to 300 again. I just don't know what is going on with Joe Mauer.
So going back to the defense side, Detroit, obviously everybody knew how bad Detroit's defense was going to be. Surprisingly, though, Cabrera hasn't done all that bad at third base. That was what a lot of Tigers fans were worried about, is moving Cabrera to third base. It's actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and I saw some issues with Prince Fielder at first base. I don't know how many errors he's made overall, but definitely defense is where they got to get shored up. But I'm not sure like how well they are doing as far as scoring runs. I know you've talked about their lineup struggling and not doing what was expected with Prince Fielder and Miguel Cabrera in the same lineup. But I mean, you can't always count on two guys. I mean, the Twins have been trying to count on Mauer and Morneau, and those two guys have obviously had injury problems and then production problems. So that's obviously why it's important to have a well-rounded roster and not just bank on one player being good, because even though Joe Mauer, I mean, honestly, I've heard about this on the radio, you had to give him the contract. You couldn't let Joe Mauer leave, and so talking about his salary is kind of irrelevant because it doesn't offer a solution in any way because he has a no-trade clause. You're stuck with him. And that's where you got to look at other parts of the team and looking at what you can get as far as prospects go through a trade and developing through your minor league system, hopefully getting some starting pitching and some quality players that are young.
Definitely. Yeah, it's the Mauer deal's done. You saved him from going to a major market. He came here at possibly a discount. It's hard enough to believe that might be a discount, but that's the case, and so that's in the books. So work around it and do the best you can.
Now, Bafe, where do you expect the Tigers to be at the end of the year? Being a Tigers fan, where do you think they're going to be? I expect them to be in the talks for the AL Central division, obviously. I'm not sure if the Indians can hold it for that long or the White Sox keep up what they're doing.
Well, this year, this same time last year, I think the Tigers were 7 or 8 games back from the Indians as well. So there's certainly precedence there that they can come back. It's just gonna be difficult until they can start hitting the ball, and hopefully the guys like I mentioned before, like the Peraltas and the Alex Avilas, finally start hitting the ball how they did last year. That could really help. And obviously the bullpen. It's funny because last year Jose Valverde was perfect in save opportunities, and this year it seems like he's only had 1 or 2 saves all year. So it's like all these little things are just adding up to the Tigers not doing very well right now.
All right, well, majority of this commentary has been negative thus far, but let's try to focus now on the bright spots with the team. We'll start off with the Twins. Who are your main bright spots? Give me like 2 or 3 names, Nadasfan.
I'm going to go Brian Dozier is the first one here. The stats, with the 260 average don't show you a whole lot, 2 homers, but they've been fairly clutch hits at times, and he's showing some signs for the future there in the middle infield. So that would be one I look at. I also am liking what I see from Scott Diamond pitching, obviously, as he kind of came in at a time where nobody was getting anyone out, and he actually strung together 2 great starts, not allowing a run. So those are the 2 that pop out right away. As far as not as rookies, obviously I've liked how Willingham has played, and that's been a great addition. Now hopefully they can keep him around and get some other bats going around him.
Yeah, one thing I want to see more of is I want to see Ben Revere get some more playing time, because he spent some time in Rochester this year with Eric Komatsu being claimed on waivers. Now, we've seen Komatsu. He's like a 220 hitter. He's still pretty unpolished. I've seen him hit a couple of balls pretty well, but not a whole lot from him. So I like Revere a lot, and I want to see him get to play a little bit more, and especially if they are going to trade Span, I would obviously expect Revere to be the starting center fielder. But otherwise, I would look at Ryan Domit. I didn't really think he was going to be a whole lot coming into this year, and he kind of did start off slow. But he's been showing off the power. I mean, only 5 home runs. That's kind of power when you're talking about the Twins. They're not going to hit for a lot of power all the time. Him and Willingham and Morneau have combined for only like 23 home runs, and that's really the bulk of the Twins' power. But he's been a pleasant surprise, as well as Josh Willingham, and just hoping some other guys can step up, especially those young kids. I'm not sure all we have for prospects in AAA and AA, And I've also heard a little about that Sano kid who's in the lower minor league single A division. He's like 19 years old, and he's batting like 260 with leading like the Midwest League in home runs and RBIs. So that's what we got to look forward to.
And at that age, it's projecting out so far. You really hope that those pan out, but you're never really quite sure. That baseball's a strange game that way. You get a lot of five-tool prospects who never really seem to make their way to the majors. So hopefully that will be the case, though. We could definitely use anything we could get.
All right, Bafe, and what do you got for positives on the Detroit Tigers? Minus Justin Verlander, that's a given.
Yeah, positives is they're selling tickets. That's good, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Cleveland
That's
Indians are having
definitely good.
trouble selling tickets to their stadium, and they're in first place.
Exactly.
Ask Tampa how ticket sales are.
So I got 3 names. The first one is Austin Jackson. Unfortunately, he's injured right now, but the way he started off this season, it's really why the Tigers started off 9-3, swept the Boston Red Sox right off the gate. Austin Jackson, he had more 3-hit games in the first 2 weeks of the season than he did have all last season. He made an adjustment with his swing and has just been tearing it up, and it's been huge reason why I think they're losing right now is because that leadoff hitter is so important in front of Cabrera and Fielder that those RBI chances have gone. My second guy is Andy Dirks, who would never have gotten as much playing time as he did, but because of the what's his name, Delman Young situation in New York, he got a little more playing time and has just been hitting the cover off the ball lately. Brennan Bosch wasn't doing very well batting in the second hole, so they moved him back and moved Andy Dirks up, and he's just been lighting it up ever since. So he's a really bright spot. He's a young kid, so hopefully he can continue.
And I
You
like
never know
Austin
with those
Jackson
guys.
a lot. He's a very good center fielder. I like players like him. I mean, you lost Curtis Granderson a couple of years ago, so it's nice to have a guy already filling that void.
Yeah, and he hits a lot more for average than what Granderson did. Granderson wasn't a leadoff guy, and that's where they put him at. And the Tigers, I think that really hurt him here. But he also couldn't hit left-handers, and then he goes to New York and he smacks the ball off of left-handers like no one's business. So I don't know what that's all about. But my last guy that I think is been a plus for this team is Drew Smiley, and no one's even heard of the kid. I mean, in spring training, you didn't even hear about the kid. There was like 5 guys that were battling for the 5th starter position, and out of nowhere, this Smiley kid comes in, and then he comes in and starts pitching. It's been really, really good. I think he lost his last 2 games, but he's only given up just a few hits over those 2 games. Just the offense has not been able to pick people up, which is unfortunate.
And
I mean, look at what's his name, Fister. He's been lights out. I think he's got like a 1.4 ERA, and hasn't won a game yet.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But we'll see Smiley. He's probably actually playing right now. The game probably just started, and this probably will be uploaded after this first game in the series. But definitely looking forward to this Twins-Tigers series. The Tigers have got to start winning some more games, and they can't always assume that something is going to happen down the line with Prince Fielder coming alive. I think it has to come together as a whole if they want to beat out the Indians and make sure they're not really in crunch time towards the end of the season. Maybe that will come with a trade. By the way, I think this has been a fun commentary. I'll have to do something like this pretty soon again, talking about more baseball stuff. We got a good Tricom crew right here, so I'll let you guys
I say
close it out.
I say we check in and again right around the trade deadline maybe and make sure we can update what's going on there with those talks.
Okay, that sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right, Nadasfan, you can take this home.
All right. Well, this has been a great Tricom, as Hurricane said. Thank you both to Mr. Hurricane and to Bafe for joining me today. This will be on all 3 of our channels, and I hope you do check us all out. We'll put links in the descriptions here, and just hope you continue to enjoy the baseball that we all like to bring on our channels. There's a lot more where this comes from, so hopefully you'll join us for this and all of our Road to the Show actions, all those other good baseball videos all summer long. And we'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks for joining us.